All righty, folks.
Here we go.
Here we go. Welcome to the production meeting. Yeah, production meeting for episode 23. Quickly, elements of the schedule, guys. Our day one will be day 9, overlap B unit.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love
Starting on stage
for the fakeness.
14.
If you wanna play tough
Get
and wanna
pass.
hate this, I'll always show up.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it.
And let's roll, please.
Hey, Olimar.
Action.
I hate this kid.
I like this kid.
Met him.
I know you hate him. What more do I need to know? It's not a cliche. Anybody can get into a fight after losing. It takes real creativity to beat up someone you just beat.
Pain's not limited to his head.
It is really, really tough to produce 24 hours of TV annually when the audience, and rightly so, has come to expect the level of quality that they do for movies. They are sophisticated, they are smart, and they don't, nor should they, have any awareness of the fact that we are expected to make every episode or shoot every episode in 8 days. They should just be able to turn on the TV and think, this is fantastic.
Great! Excellent! Nicely done, Colleen. Thank you. Okay, let's check the gate.
You know, TV moves really quickly, really quickly. I mean, on a feature film, you would shoot 2 pages of a 100-page script a day. And in television, you shoot 6, 7, 8 pages a day. It's an incredible amount of material. We've shot this. We're now going to shoot this.
There's a point at which there's a very fine line between getting through the schedule and shooting something that is visually kind of vibrant and interesting and exciting. And I think it is becoming important to do that these days. I mean, you know, a few years ago when everyone was watching 26-inch TVs and it didn't actually really matter. I mean, even if you'd shot film and put a fake table lamp reflected in the image, nobody would have noticed because that's how most people watch TV. But now with, 50-inch plasmas and all of that, cinematic quality has become incredibly important.
Alrighty. Scene 6, we're in the hallway outside the procedure room.
What I wanted to do was be sort of inside the room looking out through the glass. Right. And you see Enid staring into the room with Chase behind her initially. And so you see their reflections in this glass. But because you're technically in the room,
Right.
my question becomes, well, have they stopped talking? Or does he tell them to shut up at the end of the previous scene? Or do you want to write a couple additional lines
Okay, let me
to just carry over?
let's take a look at that.
Okay.
Leonard Dick, who wrote the script, came to me with this storyline involving a kid who's a bit of a brat, and then the end of it, he has this horrible, horrible disease, and we keep adding these symptoms to it.
Oh my God.
His first symptom is rage.
2, 3.
And then we keep adding symptoms to that during the episode, and as a result, it gets more and more complicated.
He has undersized testes.
That's interesting medically, but it's much more interesting about the family and for House to comment on it if at the end it turns out the original symptom wasn't even really a symptom. He's just a brat.
Any more stupid questions?
Nate.
And some people are just jerks. And it's not a clue, it's not a symptom, they're just jerks. Which obviously you could make the case that House is one of those people.
It's a very interesting clash in episode 23. This is I think one of the best guest characters we've had. Just as soon as I read it, I thought this is an absolutely fabulous character. I mean, ghastly, horrendous, savage, brutal, impossible, but totally compelling. I just was sort of ripping through this thing. I just wanted to hear more and more about this guy.
We call him Mellow Yellow.
Thank you. We're both kind of arrogant, so it goes against each other, which I thought was cool because it goes from the normal, pretty, you know, kind of patient to the ugly one. So it's nice. I like it. And I get to be Yellow.
Can't get mad at me. I'm sick.
You know, one of the tenets of a drama, you know, I think especially medical drama, is that the patient is someone you have to root for them to get better, and someone you want to sympathize with. In this case, the guest actor, whose character's name is Nate, is this real prick. So he's inherently unlikable. And so the challenge is, how do you root for someone that you don't like? I mean, you sort of have to find a way to love to hate. It's a character you love to hate. And one of the ways we sort of worked around that is by making his mother sort of the conduit of the emotion of the piece. You know, you sort of root for her and root for her son to make it through, because, you know, you don't care what happens to him most of the time.
Okay, who else?
Enid, his mother. What does she do? Is she a single mom?
Single mom. The way I pictured her was a single mom, probably a mid-level executive in a big corporation. I specifically mentioned a company yesterday in New Jersey where she might be like the human resource manager.
Are we saying she's buttoned up?
I don't think she's stiff and overly proper.
Does he eat a lot of sushi?
No. He was a vegetarian until just a few months ago.
I think she is trying to hold it all together. I think, you know, her son is so distasteful that she probably wants to appear kind of polite, much more tasteful, yeah.
Here's the always present question: does she go home? Does she change? Does
How
she
many
stay at
days
the
does
hospital?
how many days?
5 days total.
4 days at the hospital. The teaser's on the first day.
I would say that she wants to go home because any opportunity she has to get away from this kid, she takes.
That's a good point.
I would have her come in looking fresh every day, and by the end of the day, I would just unravel her. Every day she starts out hoping somehow it's going to be different.
You gotta do this. I can't take it anymore.
My God, Mom. Save me the melodramatic hand-wringing, okay? Loosen up.
And we're having a lot of fun in episode 23. We just have this chain of events. Foreman has announced he's resigning, he's leaving, and he's got a chance for a job interview, and somebody screws up the job interview. He obviously thinks it's House. House thinks it's Cuddy. Cuddy thinks it's Wilson. Wilson thinks it's Cameron. Cameron thinks it's Chase. And so we just have these series of scenes in which hopefully each scene there's this explanation given for why each of these explanations makes sense, which is fun because it tells us something about each of the characters.
So, what causes personality disorder, head pain, blah, 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 and liver failure?
The biggest cloud looming is, you know, Foreman wanting to resign, which has been about a 3-story arc now, so we're getting towards the end. And of course, you know, leave some sort of cliffhanger. But that's been the interesting challenge for me, you know, the character still being in it, but sort of detaching himself from the residue of what happens each day in the hospital.
Go! We'll try and muddle through without your blank stare to guide us.
I can't imagine them taking the ensemble apart because I think it's very rare that an ensemble functions the way we do. We really have an amazing rapport, and it really is an incredible environment to work in. What if we're not dealing with one condition? What if it's multiple?
It's gotta be one. It's always one.
Nothing explains this constellation of symptoms.
You know, me and Foreman and Cameron started to solve cases and sort of step up to the plate a little bit more.
Now all we're dealing with is a simple evil jerk with amyloidosis.
You're not being objective. As an actor, it's just, you know, you just continue to go forward, and we get these great story arcs and, you know, stuff popping up. Sometimes it's a surprise, other times we kind of, you know it's coming, but you gotta attack your character the same way every time, you know, keep the continuity of that going.
You know, I think there's going to be some changing of the guard in terms of who's got what responsibilities and what kind of level of authority each character has. And so I think next year things will probably look a little different, and it'll probably have a new sort of fresh take, but I wouldn't mess with what's already working.
I'll double your salary. It's very interesting right now. Since they don't tell us anything about what's going to happen in the future, I have no idea where they're going with this. But the challenges for my character in this episode is to keep incredibly busy off camera. The amount of things Cuddy is taking care of while you don't see her is enormous. and actually makes the show possible. This is what Cuddy does when nobody's looking. She goes on some website. I'm suspicious. I am truly the behind-the-scenes action. They should really have a crew just following me around just to see like how much goes into it. It's really crazy.
Every medical show that I've ever worked on and I've ever seen, it's about one thing. It's about a group of doctors who are earnestly trying to save the patient's life. And then do the waters get muddy because they're personally or emotionally involved? House's objective, as I understand it, is not about trying to save the patient's life. It's about his driven desire to solve the puzzle. Now, the advantage of solving the puzzle is the patient gets to live, and so that's an added benefit. And it's also what allows him to have this sort of very acerbic wit and this oddly aggressive personality. And, you know, it's also what allows it to work because he, in the end, he sort of saves the day.
I don't think House would have been successful if we didn't have specifically Hugh, who brings all of those aspects to the character, because he could just be a jerk. And if he's not funny, you wouldn't forgive him and you wouldn't love him. And if you couldn't see behind the eyes to the fact that he is wounded and cares, but he's not going to tell you that, again, you'd have no character.
I've always laughed at the character of House. Since the first day I read the first, whatever it was, 4 or 5 pages I was sent, he made me laugh. I thought this is a quick-witted, funny character who's a very odd mixture of an old soul, someone who has been through and seen a great deal of human suffering and has seen mankind in extremis in all sorts of ways, and yet retains some of the characteristics of a slightly gawky 8-year-old. He's a child.
Whoa! Don't do that. Sneak up on a person like that.
The number of pages we shoot in a day, the number of scenes that Hugh has of dialogue, and just the sheer quantity of the work is our common enemy. And you just sort of couple it with the paragraphs and paragraphs and the medical jargon and it is just learning his lines without having to, create this accent would be hard enough.
Flush him with immunosuppressants, get a biopsy to confirm. And find him a marrow donor.
And one of the team always sort of tends to get a big chunk of the medical dialogue. House has always got it.
Start him on blood thinners and give his noggin transcranial magnetic stimulation.
We try really hard to stay on it. I mean, because the thing is if one person goes off, it sort of becomes a chain reaction, So you don't want to derail the entire scene. You don't want it to be your fault,
Doesn't look like it.
Liver failure can cause hypogonadism, head pain. Altered mental status leads to the personality disorder and rage.
I don't really have the burden of having to know too many of those words. It's just hard to put them in a sentence.
To me, what's amazing is Hugh Laurie is British, and he's rattling off these same words that we sometimes can't say in our own English accent, and he's speaking an American accent, and rattling these words off. So that, to me, he deserves, hats off to him.
Enamrenone can cause arrhythmia and thrombocytopenia. That was 2nd season. I still remember it.
Erythropoietic protoporphyria. See, there we go. Can't do it now.
Enamrenone. INAMRINOME. That's like, those letters don't even belong next to each other.
I swear it's getting harder. I don't know if it's just because they're trying to find harder and harder words for us to say. Like we have to one-up how difficult the word was from the last episode.
And then say it in the sentence, enamrenone can cause arrhythmia and thrombocytopenia.
Erythropoietic protoporphyria.
Yeah, it can be really challenging.
That's why I say, no, I'm good. I'll get the words because I'm not saying it in a British accent. I always tell them, when we're done with the show, I'm gonna go do a British sitcom. That'll be my kudos to him for doing this. It's an amazing job.
Alrighty, scene 30. In the ICU. Nate pale and weak. House pushing a cart. Chessboard timers.
What I was just saying to Maddie is that I think what might be nice is actually for House to get to the point where he calls check on his opponent. Because...
But the truth of it, though, is, it's got to look like that, and he bluffs his way, but the truth of it is if House doesn't take the bait and does the other thing, then he still would win, right? Because that's what he says at the end.
Yeah, there's got to be an alternative where if he had done something different at a certain critical point, he could have won the game.
So it has to be right at that moment.
At the checkpoint.
The checkpoint moment.
That's right.
Or where he
Yeah,
said,
I'm not positive that it will work. I'm just saying if you can find a way to make it work.
That was actually a complicated scene to shoot. It would have been easy enough, I suppose, for us just to fake a game. After all, the way the whole thing's going to be shot. If pieces are moving around the board, how are the audience to know if the game makes sense? However, you know, we have some pride on the show, and we were determined to come up with a game that actually made a kind of psychological sense between these two characters.
And my job was to come up with the games, the actual gameplay.
It's on. Sorry. Go ahead.
And there are two big games in the show. One in a teaser between Nate and an opponent in the teaser, and then between Nate and House in scene 30.
Age before cripple. I'm white.
The scene with House is a bit trickier because Nate has to bluff House into thinking that he is in a losing situation, when in fact House has winning chances.
So not only did we have to learn a long and complicated psychological scene, but we also had to learn a game of, I think, about 45 moves that had to, of course, fit in with the dialogue in a way that so that every move was both actual and also psychologically correct.
Birds opening. Passive approach. Sign of a coward.
Sicilian defense. Sign of an idiot.
I suppose sometimes the big things look complicated, you know, the car chase or the big dramatic stunt, but very often it's actually the tiny things, like a chess game, can actually be technically much harder to get right. Of course, you've got the camera operator going, well, I don't know the game, I don't know which piece he's going to pick up next. Oh, he's gone for the bishop. And the focus puller's going, oh no, it's the other knight, I missed it. It's just, you know, and all these things add up to a feeling of some tension, actually. I think we got it. I think it was okay. I mean, by the time anyone watches this DVD, we will know the answer.
Check.
The story for this episode was probably in our writer's mind before everybody was playing chess on set.
Yeah, we're totally addicted.
Chess is extremely popular on the set, and I'm not sure how it started. Boards just started appearing on the set this year. I know for a fact that Omar is not only an extremely good player, but a major chess fan, so I think he's partly responsible.
Chess, I love chess. It's one of my favorite games. I'm sort of I play chess online a lot. But it was interesting. Jesse and I were talking about chess last year, and like, yeah, we should get a chessboard. You know, maybe we should be doing that in the scenes, and talking about stuff for our characters.
I mean, I'd always wanted a chess episode. I was really annoyed when I found out I wasn't involved in the actual chess playing. Probably don't look like a chess player, do I?
And then it was literally this year, one person bought a chessboard, and so many people play chess on the set. We had no idea. We were like, oh, we thought we were the only ones. And then it's interesting, they wrote it into this 23rd episode.
Check.
But it's fun though, because we've been playing the chess consultant to see if we can beat him.
He's pretty good. I've played him before.
Omar just lost 3 games to him. But I haven't finished my game, so I probably don't want to. It was, we never finished, so. But I was winning at the time. That'll do.
I used to play a lot when I was in my 20s. I played a lot. It's a fascinating. I mean, I am fascinated by the game. It's a rich world, chess.
I hate this kid. I like this kid.
I think especially the second half of season 3 has been really fun for Omar and Jesse and I, because we've really gotten a chance to sort of explore some more stuff with our characters. A lot of times we sort of are a functional element of the show where we're diagnosing something and just throwing things around in order to give information to the audience. As an actor, it's a lot more exciting to have some interesting emotional stuff connected to all that and some push and pull going on between all the characters.
You know, the 3rd season has been really wonderful for me. I think when you get to season 3 of any show, you get to kind of dig in deeper into each character. You're not trying to prove yourselves anymore as a show.
Now that we have our role going, we got our rhythm going, and a lot of people are watching the show, we can start to stretch some of the stories out, which I think is better for the audience.
Next year is probably going to look different than this year. Our roles may change. We've been fellows for 3 years now, so I think in the real world, fellows only last 2 years.
Well, we're not sure exactly what happens. Maybe one of us gets fired, two of us quit. But they were like, rest assured, don't worry, you haven't got the sack. You know. Okay, good.
They're going to be back. It's like at the end of the season, everybody leaves. But they're going to be back. It's 9 out of 10 episodes, the patient lives. 9 out of 10 episodes, House is going to come up with the answer in Act 4. The show is, to some extent, formulaic in that way. That doesn't bother me, because really what we enjoy watching is, we know that's going to be the ending, but we don't know how. We go along, we know we've got a certain destination, but the journey is what it's all about, and how we get there, and what House does to get us there is what's fun.
People come to this hospital for redemption, for healing of all kinds, and we send them out of the door happier and better people. That is our goal. That is our mission.